welcome back to the We'll Take It From Here podcast, guys. Another week, another episode. This episode is sponsored by Honest Supplements. Taking care of your health shouldn't mean overpaying for supplements. That's why Honest Supplements is changing the game by offering high-quality, lab-tested supplements at prices that actually make sense.
While most supplement brands keep raising prices, Honest Supplements keeps it simple with just a 50% markup, helping customers save an average of 40% per product.
So, guys, whether you're looking for daily vitamins, sports nutrition, wellness support, or weight management products, they've got you covered with trusted ingredients and transparent pricing.
If you're tired of paying premium prices for the same supplements, head over to honestsupplements.com and see how much you can save.
Guys, this show is also brought to you by Elevation Strength and Conditioning, which is a one-on-one online coaching platform designed for combat athletes by combat athletes.
In a world where informational overload is common, cookie-cutter programs seem to be the norm. It is impossible to know what you should be doing.
So it doesn't matter your experience level, guys, weekend warrior, amateur fighter, or maybe you're even seeking to be in the UFC. Elevation Strength and Conditioning is here and is designed to train you to the best of your ability to perform at your highest level while preventing injuries.
If you want to take your game to the next level, Elevation Strength and Conditioning is here to help.
So guys, visit the Elevation Strength and Conditioning website and mention that We'll Take It From Here sent you so they can hook you up with the free strategy goal to make your goals a reality. Welcome back, folks. We'll take it from here. Joe and Timmy, episode 234. We got great guests today. We're just going to get into it. No spiels. You heard the ads. Welcome back to the show for the first time in 4 years. Last time, Andy Main, folks, was on with his brother Mikey, episode 49. Welcome back, Melvis Figueroa. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you're good.
You got it. Episode 205. We're back. Guys, if you heard every one of our episodes, because obviously you listen to every one of the episodes, and we always talk about Pure MMA, Andy is one of the owners. And you knew, if you listened to episode 205, and if you go to Pure, that Mel is one of the instructors for Muay Thai. So we figured we would have both of them come on because they're very good friends. They train together. They probably have a lot of funny stories, and thought it would make for a good show. So, guys, welcome back to the show, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man.
Hell yeah.
Happy to be back.
Fuck yeah.
The new setup is sick.
Thank you. It's
been a lot of work.
A lot of work. Yeah, man. You did most of it, but you taught me how to do it. Let's say that.
Teaching someone how to use a hammer is always fun.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not
Power tools.
You would know that though, because don't you do like a lot of like flipping, or do you still do that?
Bro, I've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah, right.
I have a problem. But yeah, no, I rehabbed. My wife and I, we rehabbed it started with an apartment. My late grandmother's apartment was left to my mom, bought it from my mom, as you know, she was going to kind of just liquidate as part of an estate sale. So, you know, we were like, oh, let's give this a shot. Buy it, rent it out, do the whole thing that everybody talks about is super, you know, lucrative and easy. Well,
I don't know what you're
talking about. So, yeah, we just renovated that and then actually rented. You guys know Claudio Ledesma?
I think
it sounds very
he's
familiar.
a pro fighter. He's somebody that we all train. He comes by Pure every once in a while. I rented it to his dad until he where were they from?
Dominican Republic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he moved back, but yeah, I rented it to his dad for a few years.
That's awesome.
And then ended up selling it. So that was my first foray, and that wasn't too bad. So then we tried to build a house. I almost went bankrupt. Legitimately, almost went bankrupt trying to build a house because I got screwed by a contractor.
No.
And then since I'm a glutton for punishment, I flipped another house up here in Mine Hill. I hated every one of them. I don't know why I kept doing it, so I stopped for a little while.
So that's where I'm at with this house. I'm in the middle of subdivision, and I go back and forth between selling everything and like, no, I'm going to build everything. And everyone's just fucking dump it,
you
make
know
the money
what?
and run.
Like, it's tough. I mean, like, you can obviously do really well with real estate, and if you do it well, and again, it's sort of like I look at those experiences as sort of like a college education that I didn't ultimately have to pay for because I did end up making some money.
Mm-hmm.
But now I know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But
You know what to watch out for.
It was right. But it was such a it was in some respects like trauma. Like literally, there was points where, especially when I built the house and I had the the contractor. Like I literally was.
Weren't you dealing with neighbor issues too on that house?
I mean, I could get into that. I'll give you just like the quick version, but basically, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Like there was a piece of property in Denville that was on what's called a paper road. Paper road is a town road that was never developed, and the town has no reason to develop it because nobody lives on the road. So when buyers come in and buy the plots of land, right, you're like, oh, sick, there's a piece of property that's way cheaper, right? So I think I bought this piece of property in Denville, pretty nice property, for like 50 grand, right? Like you can't,
in Jersey, you can't get anything under
you
100
can't
grand.
get anything like that. So the builder had actually purchased both properties. I think he got them in some kind of estate sale. And then he sold it with a contract to build the house. And everything looked right. Looked him up, saw some, he's like, oh, this is a house that I built, drove by, looked all right, kind of thing. But I didn't know how to do due diligence. And long story short was this paper road had to be developed. And basically the property owners pay to develop it, and then the town takes it over to maintain it. So that's the way. But what they don't explain is that building a town road, even if it's basically just a driveway, is nothing like building a driveway, putting a driveway in, right? There's all types of engineering, I'm sure you know, right?
Yeah.
So basically the builder never really relayed that. He kind of just BS'd us the whole time. And then we went to the town, and we're like, he's not building the road right.
Yeah.
And long story short is that road by itself escalated the price of the build so much, and we had to fire him, find somebody else, and basically take it over ourselves. And we ended up so far in the hole, further than we thought we were going to be.
I feel less bad about my project now.
And on top of that, so this paper road again, so it was just woods prior to that, right? These neighbors, this neighborhood has been there for however long. There's people there who have lived there for 30, 40, 50 years. This builder came in and just destroyed their view, right? Their backyard. So we don't know that going into it. We're just like, because it was already cleared out by the time we got there. So they already hated him for doing that. Then this project ended up taking like 4 years. So now they hate us just because we came in. Yeah, I had neighbors suing me. I had neighbors pressing literally criminal charges against me. It all got dropped. It was all frivolous, but they were just throwing everything.
Kind of criminal charge would they have thrown at you?
So
this is completely not how the podcast was directed. But
like I said, this can be a long story. This is the short version of the story. Yeah. So one of the things that happened with this builder was that he went to one of the neighbors and who had like a really, really big, long property, and the backside of her property was up against the property that I was building on. And she, like, super far, she couldn't even see it. He's asked her, he said, hey, he went to her, had a signed contract. I have the contract. Hey, can I use the backside of your property to store like dirt as I move the earth around? And then at the end of this project, I will put, I'll put arborvitaes and make it look really nice, and it'll be better than ever kind of thing. And you'll never see the house I'm going to cover. So he basically made this agreement with her. Well, I fired him, right? I realized he was full of it, and I fired him. So who did she come looking for this agreement to be fulfilled by? Me. And I was like, I didn't even know this existed prior to right now. And then, so then, because he was gone and my dirt was on her property, she filed for trespassing. So she pressed charges, and then and this is during COVID era when everything's online, there's no going in. So I went online. It took me a year and a half for finally the judge was just like, what evidence do you have? And it was totally frivolous. There was nothing criminal. And I literally had an agreement. I had the paper agreement between her and this other guy where she said you could do this. And I was like, you got to deal with him. He's supposed to fix it. I'm not fixing it. I was like, I'm putting up trees. Like, I'm going to make it look nice back here, but I don't know what your deal is. And I don't know what you expect. So she was like, just give me $15,000. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm already in the hole. Right. So, and yeah, it took me a good year and a half to get a judge to throw that out.
Jesus
so that on top
Christ.
of everything else, dude, you know what literally saved us was the COVID inflation, because we were like, we're upside down. Now we were going to live in the house. And it almost put us out. Like literally there were days we were like, it wasn't that like I didn't have enough to live kind of thing, but it was just like, how much am I going to sink into this? Yeah. Eventually I'm just going to walk away from it, let the bank take it. And basically the way that whole thing transpired is we were like, I don't know what we're going to do, like this maybe, and then COVID happens and people start paying literally hundreds of thousands over asking on houses, especially new houses. So we listed it and we got out of it basically even.
Jeez,
that's a win.
Now,
that is a win.
I mean, for that scenario,
yeah,
it was crazy. So yeah, anyway, that's
and he's a glutton for punishment. Got it.
Yeah. And then we immediately were like, we found another little house and we were just like, this looks like a great flip. Now we know what we're doing. And we did okay on that one. So I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. This was just a sort of a black swan, but sometimes you gotta learn, man. And it can be an expensive lesson if you don't do it right.
Yeah. I was remembering from our last episode when you were talking about how you guys started the gym, right? Did you take all the lessons from building your businesses, right? Being an entrepreneur, and then also the fighting that you do and all that adversity, and like was able to manage that stress, or each time something like that comes up, is it just seems like the end of the world at that time?
No. So I don't know exactly where it comes from. I do think being a fighter, it like in the type of training and the stress environment. I mean, you guys know, just doing jiu-jitsu, like, half of the battle is just learning how to be relaxed in really bad situations. So, I'm not like sitting there like, what would I do if I was in bottom mount in jiu-jitsu? But I do think that my tolerance for adversity is higher. And then also, like, it's not just that, it's also like my family. Like, my dad is a very calm, cool, collected person who's done business before, who's made bad deals, who's made really good deals. So I had the advantage of having seen him have ups and downs like that and ultimately be okay, right? So like, I want to say yes, that generally speaking, I think that like being a martial artist, a true martial artist, I used to have this little blog called The Martial Mind, like the martial, like this mentality of like that adversity is just a part of every process. And even when it's really, really bad, that like panicking doesn't make it better ever. Right. So the only thing you can do is try to be relaxed and then make objective decisions. Like I always, again, maybe from martial arts, but also just from, the way I was raised, anytime a situation gets hairy, I try to pull myself out and look at it as if somebody was asking me what to do, not what am I going to do? This is costing me money, or this is, if somebody came to me and said, hey, in the next 6 months, I'm going to lose 50K, but I might make it out of it clean here, or should I declare bankruptcy and deal with all of that? What would, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I kind of weigh pros and cons, talk to some people that I trust, talk to my wife, obviously, and that's like a major one, right? Most of them are not that bad, but that's how I approach pretty much everything when it comes to like, stressors. So I think, I do think being a martial artist, but I don't think just martial arts. I think anything that you're doing, sports related, business related, job related, that you've learned how to go through any type of trial and tribulation, and then know that generally speaking, it's going to be okay. Like that you just start to harden from that. You start to get tougher to different, adversities in life.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's key, right? And especially because I'm thinking about it, it's very smart to do that from a third party view, but then when you're in that scenario, it's always different when you're
way
feeling
harder.
Yeah,
it's always hardest.
That's the toughest part, is to detach your emotions from it and like your up close perspective and do that 1,000-foot view. It happens a lot in jiu-jitsu because you're literally tight and you can't see, and you're on bottom out and you literally have no room. But like, especially with the business stuff, and I'm dealing with this house, it's like freaking out all this nooks and crannies of every little detail that needs to get done, and like the attorneys get involved, and like every email is a fucking charge by your attorney. It's like, God damn, we spent an hour on a meeting. How much does that cost? It's like, well, I could bitch and complain about the $500 on this meeting, or I can just realize this is going to get me to the end. I need to do this, so it's just, bite your mouthpiece and going, getting out.
Fuck yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so guys, we're going to get into it because what we want to understand, that was a good start, how you two met, right? Because I know you guys used to train together. I know.
How long have you guys known each other? 20 years?
20 years about. Yeah.
20 years? Nice.
Maybe, I've been training 20 years. Maybe 19, 20 years.
Jesus Christ. And before on, folks, for those of you who don't know, two professional fighters, former professional fighters, but very humble, but I will brag for them. Champions and savages that will fuck you up. I have known from experience from this guy. But yeah, no, very good, very good. So it's 20 years for you as well? Is that when you guys met at AMA?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah. Do you remember? Because you were training at. I actually wanted to bring this story up because you were training in Dover with. What's his name?
With wait, who are you talking about?
Well, the bald dude that was under.
Oh, Danny Yeager.
Yeah.
Oof. I don't even talk about that story, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So well, we got to talk about it because I want to know. I actually want to know. We've never really talked about like the experience of training with this. So for quick context, so yeah, we met at AMA, but he was training for a little bit at a place here over in Dover with this guy Danny Yeager, who Danny Yeager was legitimately, and I'm saying his name. He's legitimately like a complete like fake martial artist, right? Mm-hmm. So he was like a bodybuilder type. He looked tough, right? But and I don't know if he's ever done anything, but basically he opened an MMA gym and he would post pictures of George St. Pierre on his Facebook page, like from behind, and tell people it was him. Yeah. And so my first engagement with him was I found him on Facebook, or something, like somebody was training and I was like, and I just commented, why do you have a picture of George St. Pierre? And then he started this whole thing where I don't know if you were in the room, but Shorty, Sean Santella, who we also trained with, was training there at the time. And he starts telling everybody like on site, he's going to kick my ass. Now I'm like 18 at the time, right? And he's in 30s or 40s. And he's like, if I ever run into this kid, he's disrespectful, this and that. And I'm hearing it from people that I know. And my very first MMA fight, he was cornering somebody down there, and Shorty was there and all these guys, and they were ready because they were like, shit, he's going to run into Andy. And he runs into me, and he totally, and I don't know this, but I knew he was a clown, and I was like back and forth with him a little bit, so I expected some type of altercation. And he like walks up to me with his like tail between his legs, and he's like, you want to bury the hatchet? And I was just like, dude, just stop posting pictures of George St. Pierre and pretending it's you. like I was like, I don't know you. I don't care. I was like, I'm about to go fight. Like, I'm like, you're just this, why would you defend that? Like, it wasn't just like, hey, that's a picture of George St. Pierre. And he literally like went online and he was like, this is defamation. I'm going to send lawyers and all this crazy stuff. And then that was ongoing. So I was curious, like, what that was all about, because that's where they came from.
So how I originally met the guy, he put on a thing on the newspaper saying that he just started an MMA gym in Dover. He was an MMA fighter. He had this ridiculous amount of fights that he had posted, like that he wrote on the newspaper. So I'm looking at it. I didn't know any better, so I was like, oh, let me go check it out. It's right down the street from my mother's house. So I walk down there. I get down to the gym. I meet the dude, and probably like a week or 2 weeks into the training, I'm like, yo, this guy definitely not who he's saying who he is, because he didn't know any jiu-jitsu. He did a little bit of boxing when he was younger, and that's all he knew. So it was actually in Stanridge's wrestling academy. This guy Stanridge from Randolph, he had a wrestling academy there, and we actually, my buddy Billy D. Williams, you remember Billy Seif? Mm-hmm. That was his wrestling coach. So we talked to him, and eventually we got the guy kicked out. And that's when we brought in Chiquetto.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
We brought in Paul Warlock, which he was a boxer, professional boxer at that time. He was teaching us boxing. And then that lasted for a little bit, and then me and Billy were like, we need to go somewhere that was more legit. And then that's what led us to go to AMA.
Dude, how awkward was that to like find out that the instructor is a fraud and you're learning from a fraud?
I didn't really learn anything from him. So I kind of
Wasting time, basically.
Basically.
Yeah.
You know, we were down there training ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And we knew, like, all right, we need to go somewhere more legit. Not everybody wanted to continue to do it, you know? Mm-hmm. So the guys that did want to continue to do it, actually, Shorty left before me and Billy did. Shorty was the first one to go to AMA. And then that's how we found out about the gym. Mm-hmm. We've been there ever since.
So Shorty moved, and he was like, "Yo, AMA is the spot."
Yeah, because he was under Chiquero originally. That was his jiu-jitsu instructor. Mm-hmm. And then Chiquero got sent back to Brazil. And when he got sent back to Brazil, that's when Shorty left, and he went to AMA.
So for a little history there, like you guys, I'm not sure exactly when you started, but basically
2014.
Yeah. So prior to 2010, basically, there were so few black belts. So what would happen is these guys would come up from Brazil who were black belts or brown belts, and they would find people that were training or wrestling or whatever, but didn't really have an instructor. And, some of them were good. Chiquetto was actually pretty good, I remember. But he would kind of bounce around, and just like all of a sudden he was like a head instructor at like 3 different places, but they weren't really like academies like ours or AMA or Jamie's or whatever. Like there wasn't that structure so much. But that's how that kind of worked, is that you'd have this, you'd happen upon like a tough Brazilian that was like, well, I can't make any money in Brazil doing this because there's a bunch of black belts down there and the Gracies and, all the teams that are down there. So they'd come up here, and there was 2 black belts in New Jersey at the beginning, and then maybe it expanded to a handful.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Now we've got 40 in the gym.
Yeah.
Right? But like,
we have 40?
The next will be like 42. 43.
Holy! Wow. I did not realize it was that high.
Yeah. Now,
incredible.
obviously, a lot of people have moved. Or, whatever.
But you've given out 40 black belts, 40-ish black belts.
40-ish. Yeah. I actually have the number on my phone. I could tell you exactly, but
we don't need it.
But it's up there. Yeah. No, it's crazy. Well, I mean, that's a separate thing. But we've been fortunate that a lot of people have come to us with experience, right? So over the years, there have been a lot of different things that led people that were either brown belts or purple belts to come in. So over the course of now almost 15 years, we've got the one thing at our gym is particularly notable for amongst things is longevity. Like I have a few friends now that have gyms that have had gyms longer, have great academies, but for some reason can't keep people all the way to black belt. Where, I mean, if you think about the number of people that we've had, it's actually insane that it's only 40, right? It's like, it should be 100. It should be 200. Like, we've had thousands of people come through and do jiu-jitsu. But most gyms have 5, 6, 7, really successful program might have 10 or 12, unless you're in the city at like a Henzo's or something like that, which obviously they have a lot. But anyway, Chiquetto was kind of like bouncing around. So it was hard to like train under that type of person for very long because like Mel said, they might have to go back to Brazil, get their papers worked out. They're like, oh, I'll come back. So when I was training at a place in Denville, and then I moved over to AMA when I started fighting. And Jamie was there. So Jamie was one of those very few black belts. And he started training the fighters at AMA. And then obviously, like, the Miller brothers, when they started, and then a couple of other guys, like, it became apparent that there was something going on over there that was a solid team to be around. And they had the pieces. They had, like, the good quality jiu-jitsu instructor that wasn't going to be gone in Brazil, like, in 2 months. They had the MMA team. And then the gym itself was not, like, at risk of going under.
What year was this around? 2008? 10?
I fought my first pro fight 2007 or 2008. And then I went immediately after that to AMA.
So 2009, 2010?
Yeah, around there.
Damn.
No, 2008, 2009. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where did you guys have the pro fighting? Because I went for 3 months. I was at that place in Whippany, and I just remember when you walked in, there was the bench and the jiu-jitsu mat. So where was the fighting area?
It was all in the same place.
Oh, it was all in the same place.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
only had 2 rooms. One room was smaller. It was more like the Muay Thai room, and then the bigger room was mainly jiu-jitsu.
But when we first started, it was only the small
The one room, yeah.
or not. It was only the big room. Well,
Yeah,
the big room,
the
which
big
wasn't
room.
even that big. No, we all did our. That was one of the things that was pretty remarkable about how well the MMA program escalated. We never had a cage. We barely had bags.
Yeah. Barely had bags.
No barely having bags.
They had-
and you
yeah.
guys had
We had Thai
fucking
pads and
epic people come out of that gym.
and mitts and stuff like that. It's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Man, that's
yeah.
fucking...
That's wild.
It really was a situation of timing, I think, and again in structure. Like the Miller brothers came over, and that was just where they were. They didn't have any interest in, because that was the thing too. A lot of people were traveling around trying to like figure it out. Right? They were like, go to Henzo's in the city. The MMA team was so before the Danaher Death Squad, right, and the jiu-jitsu surge out of Henzo's. They weren't really known for a high-level jiu-jitsu competition team. They had good competitors that came through there. It was the MMA team, right? You had IFL. You remember IFL, the Pitbulls. And then you had the guys obviously doing Pride prior to that. And then you had these, and then you had John Danaher start coaching George St. Pierre, and all these fighters come through. So MMA guys would try to go there if you could afford to go into the city every day and do the whole thing, right? When AMA opened, it sort of became an extension because Jamie was a Henzo black belt in a way that was in New Jersey. And yeah, we had people travel from all over the place. Sort of how we have a lot of people drop in at Pure, but like at that time it was like crazy who you'd have drop in. It would just be like a UFC champion, UFC fighters, a jiu-jitsu world champion. You have jiu-jitsu world champions that people didn't even know were jiu-jitsu world champions. I think we had Eduardo Tellez one time. You guys might not even know who he is, but like at that time he was one of the highest level, a very high level black belt. Literally just walked in the door and trained in an MMA and basically got his ass kicked by everybody in the MMA room because he had no MMA. That's why these guys would show up. And like nobody had any, like I knew, I was just like, this is crazy. Like Eduardo Tellez, and that, but it was like that type of rotating door at all times. And you'd be like, oh, okay, I just pop in, and Frankie Edgar and his whole, that whole Ricardo Almeida team is here, or, Ryan Hall just popped in and he's just here, and you're just like, no warning, nobody said anything, the coach didn't know, and you just have these like killers pop in and just,
That's wild.
it's crazy. Yeah.
That is incredible. Imagine walking in one day to like train and you just know that you're
like the
about to have a good round.
amount of names you just name dropped, and I know that's just the icing on the cake. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The amount of UFC people that you think you've trained with, like dozens?
Oh yeah, at least dozens.
I mean, that's
Now,
just
I also traveled.
Yeah.
Just in AMA.
just MMA. The amount of people that have come through. Khabib's been through there. Claudia went through. Amanda Nunes. Like, these are the names I know of, like off the top of my head. And the ones you just said. Like,
well, basically, I mean, you guys know of like the Catone, Nick Catone's team.
Mm-hmm.
So before it was Nick Catone's team, it was basically Ricardo Almeida's team. And so I think Frankie, well, no, I don't, was Frank? Yeah, I think Frankie was at Ricardo Almeida's, right?
Yeah.
So you had Ricardo Almeida himself, who was, he former King of Pancrase himself, and he was in the UFC. You had Frankie, Dante Rivera. Who were the other guys that came out of Rhino that moved over there? Do you remember? That came up with Frankie. A couple of them were in the UFC. I can't think off the top of my head.
Neither could I.
And then, yeah, I can't even.
yeah,
All the Russians. You had Khabib. What's his name?
That's when Bellator was popular too, and they had all the Russians in Bellator too.
That's right. Yeah. And then Rico Rodriguez, Jamie Varner.
Who was the Russian dude that used to do the splits?
Yeah.
Adelan.
Adlon, yeah.
Adelan.
Adlon, God, yeah.
He was the one that broke John Jones' ribs, I think, with a spinning back kick.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, no, he was a psychopath. He was really good. I thought he was going to be one of the best. He had I think he lost to Robbie Lawler.
Yeah,
and then for some reason he quit. I heard it was for like religious stuff, because he was like going back to be like a whatever his version of like a priest is for their religion. But yeah, like it was really weird. You had a couple of people like that where you're just like, this person is easily, like, he was the most physically gifted person that I've ever encountered. And just, yeah, he was just there, had a great run, Bellator, a little bit in the UFC, and then just disappeared.
What is it like? Because I know when we spoke last, you were talking about how you were sparring with Nunes, right? But you said you didn't spar with Khabib at the time, right?
No,
were you able to spar with Khabib or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
I sparred with Khabib. I actually worked privately with Khabib for about 6 months. So yeah, so he
worked with you, or you worked with him?
Uh,
You guys are just training partners.
well, so what happened was, so he was training at K Dojo. So K Dojo is kind of like I don't know about now, but at that time there was this team, I forget what it's called, like Red Team or something, and he had this manager that was basically bringing in Russians, and K Dojo was sort of like a pit stop. So they would come in and then fight, compete, train. If they performed, they would like move them to like one of these bigger gyms. If they didn't, they sent them home. And so that's why we had all these guys coming in. And to be honest, like, it was literally like a Russian roulette, ironically Russian, because when they would bring in new guys, you didn't know if you were getting a Khabib Adlan level guy or somebody that was absolute trash. Cause they were like, there was guys that they would bring in that we would just like ragdoll, and then you'd have like a Khabib or an Adlan. So when I trained with Khabib, he came in and his coach came to me one day and was like, you know, he has a hard time passing your guard, and I want him to get more experience with like a good guard player. And I wasn't working during the day at that time, or so whatever it was, is I could train during the day. So he just was like, you know, can you meet us like a half hour before training or after or whatever? So I don't know. I mean, in total, maybe it was like 7 or 8 times, but yeah. Now here's the thing. So yeah, it was like working with me, but obviously he was always a really good wrestler and super tough. So there was like a shared value there. It wasn't just
Absolutely.
it wasn't like me like just helping him, but you know, yeah, like he
came to you because your guard was that hard to pass.
at that
Or he was
time
he was having difficulty with it, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was funny because he did a podcast once and he was just like, I never got subbed in training, and I was just like, I don't think that's true, but I'm not gonna. We don't talk about training. But and actually he was awesome. But yeah, they had us doing that. But at the time, I mean, his hands were terrible. You remember, like, I don't know if you remember watching him box. Like, his hands were never great, even at his height. But like, if you had asked me at the time, like, is this guy going to be one of the best ever? I was just like, well, his jiu-jitsu is like tough. He can obviously win like, you know, some tournaments, but I didn't think it was remarkable. His wrestling was good, but like that wasn't usually enough. And his hands were horrible. So like, usually if you were a good wrestler, you had to develop your hands to like use your wrestling, stay on the feet, knock people out. And I was like, man, he's like, you know, terrible on his feet. So I literally didn't even think to like get a single picture with him because I thought I was just training with some random guy.
Wow.
And I mean, I have a couple pictures like with the group, like when he was at the group sessions, but when those private sessions, like I just was like, yeah, sure. Just another, you know, like I do these little, you know, side sessions with lots of people at that time, you know, Yanni, my coach, I would, you know, randomly jump in with him. So he was just another guy that I did that with. And actually I also did that with Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes left our gym at one point, left AMA, which is another kind of funny story, but she was training out of somebody's garage, Marcio Bittencourt. Yeah. Marcio, he's still around. He's a ref, and stuff. And he's the head coach over at, Notorious. So she was training in his garage. For whatever reason, she wasn't coming to AMA, and she asked me if I would go up there and roll with her because she didn't have anybody to roll with. And I was just like, this is super inconvenient, but sure. And I like went up there because I did, I wanted to learn, like Marcio was decent. I wanted to learn some, so I went up there, trained with her jiu-jitsu for a little bit, probably 5 or 6 times, 7 times, same thing, couple months, and was thought nothing of it. Like, just like me, just whatever.
Yeah.
There's another session. And then literally those two people became like the most two of the most dominant fighters on the planet. And if you would ask me at that time, I would be like, there's zero chance. There's zero chance. I mean, Khabib, I could see the possibility because he had like the toughness, the makings. He was winning stuff. He was like 4-0 or 5-0. I just, I was like, I don't know. Everybody beats him up on the feet. He's not particularly a standout wrestling in the room. Like Charlie and the guys that can wrestle are like not having a crazy hard time with him. And then on the ground, he was okay. So I was just like, yeah, whatever. But you could see Amanda was like, she just hit hard. That was pretty much it. She hit super hard, but like her stand up wasn't remarkable other than hitting hard, and her jiu-jitsu was pretty much a white belt. So I was like, yeah, all right, well, I guess I'm just kind of helping her out. And then literally the most dominant female fighter on the planet.
Wild.
Insane. Yeah.
That's hilarious how that turns out to be like that. That's fucking crazy. What a fucking like opportunity, right? To have the two best. Right, and you got to train with them, and so did you. When was the first time that you two like trained with each other and met each other? How'd that go down? Was it a normal fight? Was it just like, hey, what's up? Training together? Like, what was that about?
Do you remember?
I'm gonna be honest with you.
So I don't remember. I can't tell you like specifically like this was the very first time we sparred. But what I can tell you is I do remember when you came over and like that around when we started sparring, because I think you were heavier. You were a little heavier when you first got there yet, or no?
No, I think I was around the same.
You were around the same already.
Yeah, I was fighting 45.
Maybe not. Okay, then yeah, but whatever the case was, maybe then you just always hit fucking hard. Because I remember, like anytime guys come in and they're around like, your size, you're like, all right, there's always that like sort of sizing each other up thing, but obviously we're training partners. But again, like when you have this sort of like thing where people would come and go, you didn't know who was going to stay. And I wasn't there that much prior to him. But that was like my team at that point. And now I don't know, right? It's just like Mel might just come in, try to kick the shit out of me and then go back to his gym, right? So I do remember sparring, and at that time my hands were not good, and he has hit hard forever. So like I do remember the first couple times we sparred, I was just like getting like blasted. He used to throw this left kick too. He still throws it. I don't, unfortunately, because of my neck, I don't spar that much anymore. But he would always throw this left kick to the liver. And at that time, and I'm southpaw, so like I'm exposed to that side. And at that time, I couldn't get out of the way. This dude kicked me so fucking hard, so many times in my liver. I mean, literally, I think there was only 2 people that I've ever put a knee down from, and it was him hitting me in the liver, and then Dan Miller freaking knocked me out in training once. But
thanks, Dan.
Yeah, twice actually, twice in the same. He like cracked me, I fell. And then I popped back up and I got back into it. He cracked me again, and I didn't get out cold, but I was just like, all right, I need to stop. But yeah, so I kind of remember because I was like, all right, and you just don't know how it's going to be. But obviously, like, yeah, we just, we ended up training a lot after that, throughout the years. And basically, I mean, most consistent training partner from beginning to the end of my career.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, man. How did you develop that? Not that you developed it. When did you figure out that kick was going to be your kick? Because you do throw it a lot.
Well, I'm a natural lefty that stands righty. And then, I don't know, I just always, my switch kick was always harder than my rear kick.
Mm-hmm.
That's uncommon, right? Sorry, I'm not up in the Muay Thai stuff. I know more jiu-jitsu. So that's
usually, the rear kick is usually harder. But I guess because I'm a lefty, my switch kick was harder.
Ironically, we're the exact. So I'm a right-handed southpaw, and he's a left-handed conventional fighter, which is very uncommon. And it's also what made our rounds a lot of fun over the years, was because like you can't, and it's all for like you can't so you sort of build a level of predictability for like, you know, a righty, a lefty, a south, like, you know, how they stand, all that kind of stuff. But like, that was the thing is, yeah, like he was standing righty and, but his switch kick was very fast. And like the way that it came, like again, like lots of people throw that switch kick at me and I was used to blocking my right side. But he would sneak it up under there every time, bro. I would like, and I knew it was coming too, and it was one of those shots.
That's the worst when you know it's coming. You're like, I can't stop it,
and you're just like, yeah. I'd be like, try running away from it. The more you try to run away from it,
get back here.
He's gonna get you, especially in the cage. It was like he was gonna hunt you down, and if you ever watch Mel spar, dude doesn't back up.
No,
like he's like in your face,
Never.
right? So. That was always the other thing too with his style was like even if you're in shape, it's not the same when somebody pressures you and like will eat a few to stay in the pocket with you. So and it's stressful. It's intuitively stressful. So like I would, you know, like try to like stay in there with him and it like he just would never back up. So then I'm constantly like backing out and then as soon as you back out into that range, that left kick was up every time.
Were you always one to just dictate the pace, or like even when you started fighting, or did that come?
Yeah, I was always like, come forward.
Come forward. That's it.
Yeah, stand and bang.
Yeah, dude, it is intimidating. It is. It fucking sucks, but that's incredible. And what I've been told from not only from you but from other people at the gym that trained at AMA at the time is that sparring was completely different than how it's done today. So if you can go into that, like I've heard people were like going into fucking mirrors, breaking mirrors. Like that's what Bobby told me. I don't know what it was.
Well, I mean, it depended on the session. It depended on who you were training with. Mm-hmm. So like our core group that, you know, again, Melvis, Jim and Dan, Charlie, Shorty, you know, there's a few others, Billy D, and a few others that were training with us as like part of the core team. You know, like it's sparring, it's fighting, it's a combat sport. It escalates, but there's always that level of respect. It was when everybody else would come in, which was almost every weekend, right? So then that's when it would really escalate because again, now it's like, you don't care about like even when we're punching each other in the face, I care about him. I know him and his family. You know what I mean? Like you have that relationship kind of, and even if you're not that close as a team, you have that relationship. When the people would come in that you have no relationship with, you would assume they were coming in to just use you for work, right? And that's still a thing, right? And there's places if you know, I tell the guys if they're gonna travel, like go in there with their, head low, head down, quiet, respectful, show that you're here to just be respectful because otherwise they're always going to be that kind of feeling of like, well, what are you doing here? Mm-hmm. Are you just here for the experience? You think you're going to come in and like, cause like that's the other thing too, is like guys would come in kind of figure out who like the weaker, like, links on the chain were and beat the shit out of them. And then guys like us and Jim, and then we'd be like, well, now we have to fucking, So things would start to escalate. Or they would come in and be like, I'm going to make a name for myself by, subbing Andy or knocking out Mel or knocking out Jim or Charlie or taking down Charlie, right? Charlie was a good wrestler. So, like, that's when things would start to escalate. And we would have that, there were fights. There were,
like actual fights.
You know what's incredible coming from Pure. That's the only place that I've ever trained full time, right? Like not just 3 months and done. I can't fathom that people would come to the gym to want to hurt someone because while we do have a lot of people that are, you guys are always banging with on Sundays and Tuesdays and you guys do go hard. Like you said, there's always that respect. So that's incredible to me that people would come in to fucking hurt like the weakest guy. Like that's and I believe it, but that's fucked up.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily know that if it was like the intent. Like I can't tell you because I was always would try to show as much respect. I would go places. My thing was I traveled a lot, And I would go to the regular jiu-jitsu class first. That was always what I did. So now the instructors, the owners, whatever, they'd be like, oh shit, this pro fighter, this, brown belt, black belt, he's jumping in, he's rolling with my white belts with respect, teaching, whatever, right? To try to create that, that understanding from everybody that I'm not here to, do anything. Cause again, I want to go spar. Like I've sparred places like Floyd Mayweather's boxing gym. And again, I walked right in there and literally everybody's looking at me like, oh, it's MMA fight, right? Like, and I'm like going to be on the chopping block here if I don't make it very clear that, so I had the wherewithal to do that, but not everybody did. And also, again, some people, I don't know if it's about hurting the other guy necessarily, but it was definitely
asserting dominance.
And like, again, making a name for yourself kind of thing, or being seen, or whatever it was. It was sort of like I need to, and so, in some of the gyms that was the culture. So like ATT, for example, I would not go to the ATT, and and some guys are going to be like, oh, he's a bitch, right? Like it's like, well, sure, whatever, but I'm also healthy. Generally speaking, we're mostly healthy. I'm not as healthy as Mel is, but like this guy's still sparring like he was 20 years ago. I'm struggling, but I'm generally speaking healthy, and that's because of that approach where like some of these guys, if you went to an ATT, like literally if you wanted to get any attention from the coaches, there was 50 fighters and they're all trying to jockey for like 3 coaches to help them get to the UFC. They had to fight to get there, right? So that was the cultures. They had to beat the shit out of each other. And it was sort of like, okay, they were certainly tough. Everybody was tough. Even at AMA, when it would escalate like that, we were a tough gym. But it's sort of like, where's that balance, right? And AMA, I don't think was the worst offender, as a culture and as a whole. I've seen way worse. I trained out at, Alliance MMA, which was kind of like that in California. But ATT, like the stories out of that gym were nuts. But that was the thing, is like, how do you go hard enough and tough enough and like that fight mode where like you're used to the pressure, but not end up literally injured. We used to joke, like, if you could get into the fight like at 70-80%, then that was a good thing, which is insane to me now, right? Now I'm like, why? Like, if you can get in there at 100% healthy,
70-80%.
Yeah. No, I mean, dude,
and that was good, you're saying. So
that was good.
So what do you think?
You were hoping to fight.
So 50-60% would be like the norm, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, like, you were like, dude, I literally think I had a black eye straight up for, 10 years straight. I never didn't have a black eye. I had popped ribs all the time. I fought with popped ribs. Yeah, like, it's funny, like, all of my life events outside of fighting, other than the wedding, because Maggie was like, you need to not spar for a certain amount of time before the wedding. But like,
Fair enough.
Engagement, like all of these life events, I have black eyes. I've got like broken something, popped. Like it just was like we were going that hard all the time, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It probably definitely shaped you guys up, though, right? Like it definitely.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I used to go over there being nervous as hell, like who's gonna fuck me up today? And we didn't do like weight classes. We didn't train in weight classes. No. You sparred with whoever was there. Sometimes you sparred the little guy, sometimes you sparred the big guy.
Oh fuck!
I remember sparring Dan, and bro, his leg kicks were ridiculous.
Dan Miller.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. I used to not like sparring him. Fuck, this guy's fucking huge.
Would you guys do 5 or 3 minute rounds?
No, we're doing 5.
Always
right?
fives.
Oh,
shit!
It's always 5.
Yeah.
That's good.
No, and we did. So like the sessions that we did would usually be like, so there usually would be like a portion of the session that was like, just like you'd get pinned up against the wall and then like start from there, maybe like a Shark Tank style. So there was a lot of I'll give the head coach at that time was Mike Constantino. I'll give him a lot of credit for a lot of what he did. Like he was, generally speaking, dedicated coach, and he would try a lot of different things. He would like meet, all these other people, and he had like experience with kickboxing, everything else. But just like a lot of these other gyms, I don't think that it was sort of throwing darts at the board, right? It was like he would create these practices that some were awesome and some were just like this. Not like looking back, it was like this is literally an hour and a half straight of, hard sparring from different positions, getting exhausted, and then doing MMA rounds with guys that were out of your weight class. Well, I mean, not always, but doing Shark Tank rounds or whatever else, and yeah, you were just past the point of exhaustion, but everybody was exhausted, right? So you didn't really realize how like potentially damaging it was. And you got in really good shape. I mean, our team was in good shape, and that was like the thing. So there was some benefit to it, but it was definitely like there was, looking back, there was obvious negative returns to pushing that hard and then fighting, right? And then basically sparring. And then again, God forbid you had somebody from the Tiger Schulman's team in or somebody from the K Dojo team in, and you're like, okay, I'm literally dead tired. I've been, training for an hour and 20 minutes, and now I'm going to go do 3 MMA rounds with that guy. You're like, and that's also where you start truly fighting, because you can't physically stay technical. Yeah. And then somebody cracks you and you can't just like get back. So you just start winging, right? Mm-hmm. So then you start brawling, and now it's just a brawl, right? And that's where, and you're in a fight.
How much do you think the intensity and all that stuff did you guys did that impact your fighting careers? Because I'm assuming that crazy conditioning, from my experience with competition jiu-jitsu, the adrenaline dump and all that stuff, you're not competing at the same capacity you are training. So like hitting the rounds after going through an hour of hard training, how much did that help fighting, do you think?
You have a thought on that?
Bro, you're a better talker than me, bro.
I don't want to.
And he's not known for talking.
Yeah.
At this,
No. So what I'll say is this, and this is the flip side to everything about like the potential negative. Is the positive is that the people that survive that and are at that, even if they're at 70-80% when they go fight. Mm-hmm. They are we had literally, again, it was a rotating door. So obviously we talked about the best guys, but what you don't hear about is everybody else that came in and left and never made it, never stayed long enough, right? So even our lowest guys that hung in were very tough and for the most part. So my general belief is that even though that system leaves a lot of bodies, so to speak, people damaged that never get anywhere, the people that you know about that actually have some type of longevity, even if you don't have some extensive career, right? Like we've, various levels of careers as a professional, you are that tough. Right. So, and that does translate to fighting, right? Win or lose. You're going to go out there and you're going to fucking fight. You're going to be in shape. You're going to do the whole thing, right?
Not going to quit on the stool.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to say shit because I've never been punched by Justin Gaethje for 3 rounds, 4 rounds straight. No. You know what I mean?
I know.
And in fairness, I think it was his brother that
yes. Not, I'm just throwing shit.
I know. But yes, awesome. The guys that do make it, right? So like I brought up ATT, right? Those guys that were at the top at that time were the literal best in the world. Yeah. But the trail of bodies that were left behind that nobody's ever heard of and now have lifelong damages to their body is extensive, right? But yes, if you were one of those ones that stuck it out, rose to near the top, even if it was like, in the top echelon, not necessarily like the UFC top, just the, being able to be in a sparring round with like me and him and Charlie and Jim and Dan and whatever, and do that for 10 years straight, you were pretty tough, right? So you were probably doing all right.
It's wild to just think about all the fucking battles you guys done over the years.
Yeah, no, like Mel said.
And this guy's still fucking sparring every week.
Yeah. It keeps me young.
Yeah, I know.
I love it. It's so true.
So old, man. It's like when you get older and you don't want to stop working because you feel like, all right, as soon as I stop working, I'm done.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, I don't want to stop doing this. I at least wait for my oldest to get big enough so I can punch him in the face one time.
until he starts to get better than you. But you'll have 30 years on him at that point.
I think you were saying, like, I asked you this last episode. I think you said something along the lines of your training is generally the same, but you know when to take like a day off if something's feeling bad.
Well,
right?
I don't really get to train as much as I would like to, and as much as I want to. You know, you get kids, things change. You know what I'm saying? Priorities change. So you know, most of the time that I have, I pretty much help the guys at the gym. You know, but I rarely get to go do a jiu-jitsu class, or the last time I've done a striking class, I don't even remember.
Yeah, I didn't know you were black. Like the very first time I met you, I had no idea you were a black belt in in jiu-jitsu. And then you showed up and I rolled with him and he's in a black belt. I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. And then it was.
Yeah, I know a little bit.
Yeah, he just comes incognito with jiu-jitsu. No one knows.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I don't know how it wasn't like intentional that way, but you know, he started teaching striking and was doing the MMA and whatever, and it just, you know, I have this like black belt on the mat, good black belt. I was teaching some jiu-jitsu occasionally at some of the other gyms, but just, you know, took on some because well, for a while you were still training back at Jamie's.
Yeah,
right.
I was still
yeah. So I think it was like that, and then obviously like when Mikey and I opened the gym, there's two of us already doing jiu-jitsu. There's only one of me doing striking, and not for nothing, like I wanted to bring in other people that had good striking, different stuff. And right out of the gate, you know, Mel and I were on our way down. I was just like, oh yeah, you know, I think I was like talking about opening the gym. He's like, let me know, you know, and that was, I mean, super helpful. You know, everybody sees what the gym is now, and you know, knows that like guys like Melvis are like a staple at the gym. But, you know, when we started, I was still fighting. Mikey was still competing. We were all still, like, kind of in it a little bit, trying to figure it out. None of us really knew what we were doing as far as, like, running the gym. And, it would have been a nightmare without having, you know, Mel as an additional, like, basically, like, head guy. You know, like, hey, you know, this is one of our main instructors. And that was always my goal. Like, I wanted to, even though it was Mikey and I opening the gym, I always wanted it to be like, we're not the most important person in the room, right? There's lots of really important people in the room, right? So like, it's not just, you know, I need Andy to be able to learn how to strike, right? Now we have, you know, Melvis and Muccione, and then a couple of the other guys that are helping out too, Arca, you know, a couple of guys that all have different styles. And then now all the people that are learning, they might just like the way Mel teaches more. A lot of people, everybody loves his class. Like, it's great. He's teaching over at Toro now too. And Craig called me. He's like, dude, he's like, you know, he's been teaching, and he had somebody else teaching. Mel teaches for a week, and he's like, these people love it. And I was like, bro, I'm telling you. I was like, because it's like, you know.
It's funny. It's like if someone would try to recreate how your teaching class, like your classes, you can't do it. It has to be authentically to you. I think that's what Pure is really good. You were saying how some gyms don't have more turnover than we do. They don't have the black belts, people that reach black belt. I think it's the calmness you were talking about to begin with. But the fact that what you just said just kind of, you know, struck a chord. Was you and Mikey don't have I'm the most important person here. And a lot of gyms you come into, like when I've traveled, then you could tell the difference in the culture. Most gyms are good, but it's like, I'm the coach, you listen to me, shut up, everyone else, you just listen, don't talk. You know, and we don't have that culture. And I've only taken a handful of striking classes, but every instructor is the same way. So it's great to see. So I think that's what kind of sets us apart.
Yeah, well, right. And we did, I mean, again, I don't know if it was partially just being new, and also, but somewhat intentional. But again, like from some of my previous experiences, negative experiences at different gyms and different cultures, I was like, I don't even want to do this if this is how it's going to be, right? Like I refer to it as like the old school martial arts mentality, where what a lot of people don't really realize and forget is that just like everything else, it's a business, right? So very often it's treated like a business. So, well, obviously it's always treated like a business. So a lot of these instructors, just like any other business owner, is thinking about their bottom line, but they're also thinking about all of the things, the marketing, the retention, and all the things, right? So the traditional way of building a successful martial arts school was literally to build a cult, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's literally using cult like theory, which is create this sort of like God figure in the instructor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the black belt, call me sensei. And again, I don't have an issue with like
Same thing with the uniforms. You have to wear their stuff. You can't wear
well,
their...
right. And then also start to instill little things, right? So while you like even just while you see certain behaviors as like cool tradition, what you're not seeing is what that's doing on the back end, right? So and a lot of those things is like loyalty. Like loyalty in martial arts is one of the most exploited terms, because obviously loyalty is a important thing to have, right? So like if somebody is representing us and they have some sort of loyalty to the gym, but the loyalty to the gym has to be reciprocal, right? I want loyalty in a way that like, yeah, I want people to want to talk good about us and want to continue to train with us. And if they, right, like because of the experience, not because they think that if they're not loyal, that I'm going to kick them out and blacklist them. You know what I mean? Or that there's some sort. So that there's like this part of the martial arts community that I was like, Mikey too, right? Like we had this experience early on and we were like, we want to be the antithesis of that. And even like these big open mats that we do. Like I literally make this joke, you know, like I invented the piano key necktie.
Yeah.
So there are certain things, at least on the East Coast, that I do take a lot of personal credit for. And this like massive, like this open mat culture that exists now basically didn't exist. Not that people weren't doing open mats, but like you didn't have an open mat like we have where people were coming from all different affiliations and didn't ask questions and like all these things, and hundreds of people were coming, right? Now, obviously people also didn't have the space to do that, but like when we first started doing open mats, we literally would have people come in and say, can I come? But just, I can't be in the picture because they're worried about another adult who they pay money to in a lot of cases, kicking them out or giving them some kind of shit. Right. So all of these little things that we did, like, actually, let me finish that thought. So that thing was something that like, I was like, this is a good thing for the culture. And I actually created, ways to incentivize people to not switch gyms, because the big thing is that the theory back in that day was that you were doing open mats, inviting people from other gyms so that you could steal students, right? That was the mentality. And I was like, okay, like I want people to be comfortable coming here. I don't care. At the end of the day, like like my network, like the AMA guys, the Yanni's guys, they're going to come. But like other people want to come and they're literally afraid to come. So I would do a thing where we set up like a virtually, so the open mat was free. And then, at that time it was a $10, drop-in fee if you had an active membership somewhere else, meaning that you could train with us for extremely cheap. Not if you were training like every day, obviously, right? Which wouldn't make sense. It would still add up. But like we made a thing where it was like, we're never going to ask you to join. And if you want to train with us, it's super cheap so that you don't have to pick and choose between switching to here. Right. If one person here or there, that's going to happen no matter what, right? It's not going to, but we made it very clear we're not trying to steal your students, right? And we also invited the instructors, right? We're like, hey, instructors, why don't you come on out, right? Yeah. So we kept doing all of these different things to try to build a culture that said, and it actually part of it came from the MMA, because in the MMA world, we didn't have enough training partners without people coming from other places a lot of times. So I was like, it seems like a good idea to just have this. And if everybody is just doing better and you have these big events and all this stuff, the jiu-jitsu culture is probably going to grow.
Did you start these open mats immediately when you guys opened?
So we
Or is that
started
something that
doing
kind of grew?
well.
Well, obviously it grew, but I mean, like at the
so
beginning,
it started out where we would like us and Yanni at the time, Sakura, Chris Savello, we would kind of bounce, right? So we would go like, okay, this holiday we'll go here, we'll go here, we'll go here. Now, obviously, once we opened the second location or the big location and we had the big mat, it just made sense space wise.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were like, no, we're doing it here now. We were always supportive of like continuing to put it around, but like now 100 people would show up and nobody else had room. So, and we barely had room because we only had the first room when we first opened the
red room.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we got the big room, and then that was really when it started taking off because there was so much room and everybody could roll at an open mat. And then, it started to go 100, 120, 150, 200 people, and it started getting kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, like, so the short answer is pretty much right at the beginning. I don't remember exactly the timeline, but we started doing them. And I'm telling you, it went from like people coming in, don't take a picture of me, like, tell me if you're going to take a video, to like now, like,
It's a badge of honor, basically.
Yeah, I mean, people literally travel across the country to come to these open mats.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's honestly it's an honor for us. Like it's really like
Absolutely.
I love to see that because I kind of like, again, there's obviously lots has happened throughout the culture of jiu-jitsu across the whole thing, but I kind of feel like I bear the scars on my back from being kicked out of affiliations and being like, people telling me that I'm like trying to do something bad because I was, going to different open mats. Like I was the guy that was training at Henzo's and Marcelo's in the city at the same time. And it was just like, that was like this big no-no. And I was just like, why? Right? Like I'm not like, there's so much to learn from both. And I pay when I go here and I pay when I go there. What does it have anything to do with you? If I start competing, right, for Renzo Gracie team against, then sure, I get like a certain level of respect. But like I was always a jiu-jitsu for everybody type person, and I had a blast doing it. Like I had a blast doing it, and I always was like, can I create that in my gym? Because you guys might not be able to travel to 20 different gyms. So can I create it where 20 different gyms come to me, and now you get the same experience for the most part, right? That I got without having to travel around the country.
That's incredible because that takes into the saying like the only limits are the ones we put on ourselves, right? Like that's the prime example. Everyone was scared, or scared is maybe not the word, but they were against doing what you did. And you were like, nah, fuck this, I'll do it and I'll make it work somehow.
Yes. And also I was very fortunate to meet a few people. So like I said, I traveled a lot and I saw what worked and I saw where I liked to be. Because that was the thing. I was like, I want to have the type of gym that I like to be, right? Space was a big thing for me. I'm kind of claustrophobic when I train in these tight spaces. Like I do it, right? And we've done it forever, but I never felt like I could just open up my game if I was like crammed, right?
Yeah. You got 10 people in a little tiny in an office space.
Yeah. So I wanted this, and I say when I say by the way, Mikey was all part of this the entire way too. So I'm he was as much a part of these conversations, and then including Mel and like even Campese and guys that have been with us for a while that have been a part of this discussion that share the same type of mentality for hard training, right? This isn't like pussyfooting around. We train really hard, we always did, but we also had a little bit of a different approach. We would just go where the training was, kind of thing, and then just be respectful people. But I lost my train of thought. What was the original question there?
No, I was saying how the saying we put limits on ourselves. Like everyone was against it, but you said no.
Yes. So one of the things that helped lead us down that road was meeting certain people. So there was one guy in particular who used to own Eagle Martial Arts in Boonton, Bharat Jan. We sparred over there a bunch. So Master Jan, actually. So ironically, he kind of was a little bit of both of the old school and the new school, because he was this very traditional old school martial arts and did all the stuff. But he was a very nice guy. I think because he was also an MMA fighter, he sparred with us a lot, and guys came by, and I went there. We used to spar over there, and told him I was opening the gym, and I'm opening like a couple towns over. And he's like, "What do you need?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he was just like, "Do you need pads?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to order pads." He's just like, "Here, take some pads." He was just like, "What are you gonna do for marketing?" I was like, "I don't know yet. I'm gonna post on Instagram. I'm gonna learn how to market." And he's like, "Cool. Here's all my marketing material." He just started handing stuff to me, and then one day I was like, because the previous gym, not AMA, the previous gym to that one that I was training at was the exact opposite. It was like if you were even in the 20, which is funny now because of how many gyms, but there was a lot less gyms at the time, 25-mile radius, you were directly against me and trying to ruin my life. Like, that was the mentality. This guy was just like, "Here, take this, come train, blah, blah, blah." We had his cage. He literally, like, basically gave me his cage, the whole thing.
Is that the cage we had?
Yes, that was his cage. Yeah. So he was like, I bought it, but I mean, he could have sold it for way more than I bought it for. So he said to me one day, or I asked him one day, and I said, not for nothing. Like, I know, like, we're not exactly the same type of martial arts, but like, why are you doing this? Like, I'm right. You don't consider like a competition? And he was like, the guys that are looking at other martial arts gyms as competition are already losing. He was like, I'm up against soccer, I'm up against basketball, I'm up against baseball. He's like, I'm competing against these sporting organizations that are free in some cases, right, or supported by the town, and have thousands of kids and thousands of participants. He's like, why would I be competing against another martial arts gym that has 50 members? He was like, if one of my guys goes over there, whatever. He was like, if that, and here's the other mentality. He's like, if I think I'm better. I think I'm the best, right? He's like, and you should think you're the best, right? Why are you opening the gym? You guys should think you're the best. I mean, we are the best, but legitimately. And that was the thing. It was very much like, if I'm the best at this and the guy down the road has 200 members, then I should have 500 members, right? I don't want him to do bad. I want the culture to be so big that the second best has 200 people and I have 500, 600 people. And that's literally what happened, right? Like, I was like, there's other things too, building a bigger location and doing the whole thing and like creating a situation that whatever. But all of these different things, I was just like, these people aren't my competition. I'm not up against Henzo Denville. I'm not up against the karate gym I'm up against somebody choosing between soccer for their kid or martial arts, right? Or jiu-jitsu. And these adults, like, how do I get adults back into working out, right? I'm up against the $30 gym membership. That's what I have to compete against, right? Yeah. I have to compete against, like, somebody wants to come in and they're like, well, I could go in the gym and get a workout for $30 a month, right? Or I can spend $150 to $200 a month and I have to get that person to think it's worth it, right? So that once that becomes your mentality, you don't give a shit about other martial arts gyms. You're like, you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies, like, right? Like, that's the mentality, and that has served us in basically every way.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, that is definitely, I would say, is part of the reason why you guys are so fucking big, right? Everything you just said there, you're not old school mentality, right? You still have that loyalty. You're still quality, like everyone, all the instructors, all quality, right? But you're just human, personable, and you just focus on you guys, right? It's not the focusing on everyone else, because even in life, with everything you do, every time you focus on what someone else is doing, you just hinder yourself. So it's like, it's incredible. Everything.
You just, it's awareness. You be aware of what's going on, but you don't hyper focus. You just. Wherever you put your energy, that's what's gonna happen. That's where your energy is gonna go, right? If my energy is about feeling like negative about like the guy up the street having members, that's a weird way to approach anything, right? It's more like, what can I do to make my place attractive to the next guy, right? Because it's not. how do I get that guy's student, right? Like, that doesn't even make sense. It's like, again, people are going to move around, and we're fortunate. We do have a lot of people that have come to us with experience. It normally isn't like, I'm quitting where I'm at and I'm signing up with you. It's normally they quit because they didn't get something that they wanted, and then a year later, they're like, I really want to get back into jiu-jitsu, and then they pick somewhere different. Very, very seldom do we have somebody that comes in that's like, I need to finish up my contract over here and then I'm going to come over here. You know what I mean? Unless they're moving into the area. That's just not a thing. And but for some reason, for business owners, especially in martial arts, it's something that eats at them, right? Like, they're worried, like, oh, well, if they see that. And I also think it might be a insecurity issue, right? It's like, if you're secure, if you feel good about what you teach, what you provide, it's not about the size of the gym, by the way. I mean, it helps, right? Like, that does help us. But I mean, I know guys that have Colton Brown. I mean, obviously he's an Olympian, but it's not because he's an Olympian. It's because of the energy that he's put into his gym. He has as many members as we have. He's been open for 3-4 years, and he has
as many members
as I mean, it's either as many or right up there.
Wow. He's been open for 3 years,
3-4 years, something like
going
that.
on 4.
Yeah. And he just, again, we had a conversation when he was first opening, and obviously asking for advice and this and that, and I was just like, look, like, obviously you have the skill, right? So you can be confident in that. You got to put in the work. You got to be good to people, like, whatever your thing is. And I was like, and you have to build a culture. I can't support a culture of 500, 600 people by myself. Me and Mikey can't support it by ourselves. Me and Mikey and Melvis can't support it by ourselves, right? It has to keep growing. The students have to keep carrying it. And that's why I will say the one thing that we also do when we protect is the environment. If we have somebody come in that starts to eat at that environment in a negative way, immediately we're like, either we got to nip that in the bud, they got to change, or they got to get out. Because we're not going to allow, like, we joke, we always write, like, good vibes only, like, whatever. But it's literally, like, as soon as that cancer starts to happen, and every single time that I've given it more room to breathe, because I'm very, like, third, fourth, fifth chance type person. Like, I am not like you could, even people that have screwed me, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm fine. I'm going to be fine. I'm confident in myself. So, like, I'm just like, okay, I just won't deal with you. If they come around, I've had people that literally have, wronged us and then come around and be like, hey man, I'm sorry. Cool, man, come try it. Don't care. Right.
Love that. And that shows in the culture, I think, too.
Especially for me. If it's somebody else, right? If somebody like did something, but for me, yeah, it's like whatever. But that being said, yeah, when somebody starts to threaten our culture, like, we're like freaking hawks.
Yeah. Well, I think too is on that note is I know the culture you're talking about, like, it can't be on just on you guys and the coaches. I've seen it spread to across everyone, and there's a lot of the mat police. If someone's new guys come in and they're only asking the girls to roll, all the guys are eyeing them up. What the fuck's going on with this guy? Right. Rarely. I've talked to Mikey about this. I think, half a dozen, maybe, people that you've had actually kick out over the years, whatever the number is. Most of the time, the people leave on their own. Yeah. But, everyone itself in the culture is protecting each other. Yeah. If someone's out of hand doing something ridiculous, we're all watching. And someone else may even go talk to the person instead of you having to do it. So I think the culture has been, because I've been here 12 years, 2014 I started at the original gym. And I've seen some of the people come through and I'm like, oh, that guy's not lasting. There's one guy in particular. I'm not gonna say names. But it's like those people just weed themselves out. And I don't know what it is. I guess they just realize this isn't the spot for them. I couldn't tell you, but it's awesome to see how much the community itself is there supporting each other.
Yeah, I mean, yes, exactly. I mean, for example, we have.
You can move this, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, it's all right. I can't see it. No, we have a lot of. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Is that people have become protective of the culture, especially those that have elevated other instructors, longtime practitioners, and and things of that. If something gets to me, if it gets to the point that it's like I'm dealing with it or Mikey's dealing with it, then it's a problem. It's like something became a problem. Normally it's like, and it gets handled different ways, you know, again, like sometimes it's an ego check, sometimes it's a sparring thing, and sometimes, you know, sometimes guys have to put it on somebody a little bit, but again, within reason, right? Like, we've never had anybody, like, it's not like, hey, you know, go injure that guy, right? Because he's being too tough. But if somebody's comes in and, you know, that's happened where somebody comes in and, you know, they think they have something to prove or whatever that is. And they, it's again, it's a bully mentality where like they'll just kind of target the easy, you know, the small guy or the girl or whatever. And then whatever it is. And it may be intentional. Here's the thing. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? That it's the low-hanging fruit that people are just going to pick, and it may not even be intentional. And sometimes it's just making somebody aware, and it literally fixes the problem. Like, it's just like, hey, why are you doing that, right? You ask the question like, you know, hey, like, you stop just beating up on the small guy, right? Oh, I didn't realize. Sometimes you don't realize. Again, we used to spar with big guys, small guys, whatever. We got our asses kicked by, like you said, we got our asses kicked by guys like Dan Miller, and nobody was just like, hey, Dan, take it easy on the small guys. Like, it just was like we just didn't know. It was just part of it, right?
Just took it.
Right. But you know, in the gym, in the class culture, if somebody comes in and is like, you know, is taking advantage of newer people or whatever, or maybe they're bigger and stronger, and then yeah, sometimes we're just like, hey man, like, you're big and strong. You don't spar like that with somebody who's, you know, smaller than you and obviously inexperienced. If you want to spar like that, Coach Mel is always down for a round.
Yeah.
And then, you know, sometimes they do a round with a guy, you know, guy like him or Justin or something like that, and they'll put it on him a little bit, and literally, like, that's the perfect Matt Justice, figured it out, blah, 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 and they've been training with us for years, right? Nothing bad to say. They just need to know. So I do give the benefit of the doubt. I don't automatically assume that they're going to be a poison. But others are they do become a poison or a cancer, and you have to eliminate. And like you said, they usually weed themselves out because it's uncomfortable. You know, it's like we like to be around people like us, and that's the whole thing. Is that like the instructors have to, like, you know, again, Mikey and I from the beginning tried to set a precedent. Right. But we also, we need the other instructors to have, they're not going to be the same as us, right? Like, Mel's not exactly the same as me. You don't teach a class. You don't deal with guys that, you know, that overstep their boundaries the same as me. And that's fine. But what they know is that no matter where they go, right? If they go to Mel's class or my class or my class, they're not going to fit in. They're not going to find that. And that's totally fine with me. I want you to fit in. You can be completely unathletic and just, you know, have every other issue in the world with trying to learn martial arts. You can't come in with a bad attitude or the chip on your shoulder for a long time, or you're literally just going to constantly, you're going to feel like it's not a good fit. And I don't want to change. I don't want to work on that person beyond a certain point. I want to give them an opportunity. I don't want to put my energy into those people. I want to put my energy into all the people that are here for the right reasons. You know, it's the 80-20 rule, right? It's like 80% of your time goes to 20% of the people. I try to make sure it's that I'm giving most of my energy to the people that are, you know, doing the right things, that you know, are here for the right reasons.
That's fucking awesome. I love how everything is.
And I have to drop Ashley as well. I give her a shout because
Gym Mom.
Yeah. Gym Mom. She was like the missing link as we grew, right? I've talked about this in class. I think when we gave her a black belt, like, we were managing well up to a certain point. And then at a certain point, I literally wanted to throw myself off a bridge every day. I started to hate the gym because it was too much with dealing with too many personalities. And not for nothing, like, I talk a lot and I have, like, you know, this communication ability, but I also am overwhelmed by a lot of people at once. You know, like, I don't know if it's introvert, like, whatever. It's just, I get, like, when there's too many touch points that start to happen, I get really stressed out. On top of, like, I got to at that time I was still teaching a lot more classes and dealing with all the, And, you know, even with instructors, right? Like I have to keep communicating with the instructors, with the students, and I started to dread coming to the gym, and I started to not like doing jujitsu because of it, right? Like, cause I'm always working. I don't get to come to even Melvis's class or Mike's class or just jump into roll. I'm working the second I get on the mat, which is still a little true just cause I'm there. But when Ashley came in and started to take some of that, and she's a great people person and everything, that was like a huge shift of like
just before COVID she came on.
It was just before COVID. Yeah, it was
7 years now at this point. Wow. Yeah. I can't even remember. I remember before. I don't remember how long ago it was though. Yeah, it's a huge shift. You can tell just. It almost seems like the gym almost took off even more once that happened. You guys were successful and had a lot of students, but since that point, I don't know why, but it seems like it's taken off significantly more from there.
I started around that time, and I agree because there's a lot more from what I've seen.
Yeah. Well, so there was a couple of things that happened. Ashley coming in and becoming a part of our just general system was one major thing. COVID actually ultimately ended up, I hate calling it, the end, like all of the fallout from what happened during the pandemic ultimately helped us. It was short term terrible, obviously, for especially as a gym. But again, there were things that we chose to do. And also we were able to do it for a reason, but we basically said, hey, if you are dealing with financial issues, let us know. We'll turn off your membership. Obviously people could just cancel their credit cards, but we want to do the right thing. Two, if you had prepaid, then, just freeze it. It's frozen. If you can, leave your membership on and we will pay you back by discounting your membership going forward. Right. So enough because of the trust we had from our community, the people that could afford to left their memberships on so that we could pay our rent and everything else and we could survive. One, and two, once everybody started getting paid back and then got paid back legitimately, paid back every single person. That I felt was like everybody was talking about that because people were coming in and literally telling us so-and-so referred me. They said during COVID, you did this. My gym, and I'm not even talking about another martial arts gym, regular gyms. My gym refused to cancel my membership, right? My gym made me pay and just said that I'm still under there was crazy stuff that was happening during that time. Or I had to cancel my credit card or whatever, so that sort of got people talking about us in a good light. Not that we weren't already, but people literally were like, hey, these guys legitimately just paid everybody back or canceled. They worked with their people, and then some gyms closed. Right. So those people all came to us once the dust settled. So yeah, we bounced back pretty strong. And then, again, the people, started adding more classes, expanding the program a little bit and, just made some minor shifts and tried to, hit it hard once everybody was coming back in.
Fuck yeah. That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, the progress is crazy. Think back to the AMA and you then to you now, you guys then now, and how much has the community in MMA and jiu-jitsu changed since then? And the culture, just to talk about the culture that you built in the gym is to think about back then, would you be how surprised would you be? The progress that it's, first off, the progress in the community itself, but let alone being able to build the culture that you have. And how many students you guys have now? 500-600?
Around 600.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's what the kids program too.
With the kids, yeah. Kids have grown a lot. We hover, yeah. We've been hovering between 550 and 600 for a little while now. We feel we actually been talking about it. It's this whole separate conversation, but there's natural. Everything that we've been doing has given us a growth curve. But there's obviously even the best gyms have an attrition rate, right? So there's a certain amount of people that are leaving. And generally speaking, it's a percentage, right?
Yeah.
So if you get 10 people in and you get one person leaving at the front and the back, then you keep growing until the number of people you have makes it so that there's an average of 10 people leaving, and you're only getting 10 people in, so now you're staying even, right? So in theory, you just kind of stay there. So we've sort of been in that spot for a little while, and we've been discussing different ways of growing and and doing what we need to do. But again, it's like it's funny because it doesn't always like growth is obviously something that we want to continue to do and keep the gym healthy, but it's also like, how are we going to make, like, what would we do if we had 1,000 people? I mean, there's days where I'm just like, we don't have the room, right?
Which is wild to think about. How big is the mat space that we have?
So the big mat is just around 4,000.
It's wild to think about.
The smaller mat's around 2,400, I think. And I don't want to kill the experience for the people that are there, and so it's not like like there's ways of bringing more people in that I am aware that I know how to do, but I just to this point I haven't done it, such as what's called pattern interrupt marketing. Like you will have never seen a Facebook ad from me in I don't know, at this point, 12 years, 12 years. I used to do them. I don't really do them now. I could turn them on and I 100% could get more people in. But the type of people that come in from Facebook marketing is not the same as the person that's searching on Google, right? So right now, 100% of the people that come in the door were looking for exactly what we offer, or they were referred by somebody like you, right? So because of that, what type of person do you think keeps coming in the front door? More people that fit with our culture, right? Yeah. As soon as I start doing different types of marketing, now there's advanced marketing where I could probably sift, and my coach Brian McLaughlin's going to be like, "You're out of your mind," right? Because he does really well with these ads, and again, we might turn it on if we decide to, but I have to I have to change the entire way that I sell or we sell. And I have to be more careful about who's coming in just by doing this to all right, we really need to, up the number of people that we have coming in the front door. But are these people going to fit in the same way? Right. Or are we going to be dealing with more of that situation of people that are here for the wrong reason? Right. So it's a tough balance because obviously I want to grow. It allows more opportunity for the instructors and for us and for everybody else. I got to spend a lot of money on fixing our AC right now. Our rent just went up, right? There's costs and everything else. And then also if we grow as a number, we don't have to raise, the prices of the actual memberships as much, right? Because there's more people that it gets spread out across. But I am deathly afraid of affecting the culture at our gym, and it's a high consideration, and it's a reason that
which is fair. I mean, everything you've talked about, I think it's completely reasonable that is the pulse of the gym. That's the heart. If you fuck that up, you'll see repercussions. And I feel like a lot of times with businesses, when gyms and stuff that they sell, that's kind of what happens is the culture shifts, and then the people that came up with that culture now, why am I here then? That's not the thing.
I mean, that changes as it is, right? Mel's been here since the beginning, and when we had these small groups, and you've been here for a really long time. You've been here for a pretty long time. You see a shit. I mean, even the guys that were here from the beginning will often say it's awesome to see the gym so big and successful. But it's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same as when it was just us in the room, right? And when we had
the first location, it was right tight knit. I remember the first I think up into the gray room. Sorry, I interrupted. I can't help myself. Up into the gray room. When we got new students, you made sure to say, make sure you introduce yourself every time. Now we have too many students. The person will never leave.
Dude, I don't even know half the time. Yeah, because and that's the thing too is we were basically on the mat almost every day. he knew every single person in the striking program, at least. I knew every single person that was a member of the gym. Now there's an entire, like, even like the morning classes.
Yeah.
I've never been to a morning class since I started it. Not one single morning class. We've had it for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
Right? I can't. Like, I mean, I can. I teach at night, and then I like to be up really late. I'm usually working until 2, 3 in the morning sometimes. And then I sleep. I got to change that because my kid's going to kindergarten next year and going to be starting really early. But that's just been the mode that I've been in. So I'm like, so when I started that program, I told them, the guys that were doing it, I said, listen, I need you guys to take responsibility. And like you said, people sort of like, and we've now got this big flourishing morning program and everybody loves it and whatever. And they've got their own leadership and all of these things and new students coming in to take those classes. And I've literally never been to a single one of them. And that's, just different. Now I don't know most of those people, right? Which it introduces new challenges. How do I promote? Cause right to this day, other than a handful of, Campese students, me and Mikey do all of the promotions.
Yeah.
So how do I promote somebody? So now I got Quaylar saying so-and-so is ready for a blue belt. Well, okay, if is he going to come to my class, or do you want to give him a blue belt? Right. So now I start giving out the permissions to give blue belts. So now
that's I can't imagine what that's like. So it's been you and Mikey, and then Campese a little bit. It's been introduced to that. You're saying for promotions.
So Campese has just had guys that started doing lessons with him, and then eventually joined the gym. So they're like his guys, right? Yeah. So even though they become part of Pure, he'll usually do he'll continue to be promote those people because they've been like his guy, right, for a while. But but no, like generally speaking, it's not like somebody randomly signs up and then I'll say, hey, Campese, promote that.
So it's
guy.
just mostly you and Mikey.
Well, and now Ashley. Too.
Ashley.
So Ashley, especially with the girls program,
Yeah.
she's she took charge of that program, and again, we try to have some finger on the pulse of all the programs as much as we can. But the reality is, again, we're two people, and that's why we but we tried to I didn't want a situation where like somebody would be disappointed to not get their blue belt. I mean, for black belt, we're going to always be a part of that, right? But like, if somebody's going to ready for blue belt and they train exclusively with Ashley, that for all intents and purposes is Ashley's student, right? And Ashley should do that promotion. And I'm going to be there when I can, but Ashley is a legitimate black belt and she's the head of that program, and for all intents and purposes, like those are her students, right? Within our network, they're our students because obviously Ashley is an extension of us, right? And all the other instructors are too. But we had to empower her and empower the other instructors too that are coming up, like for the morning now, like Muccione. I'm going to need Mike to start doing promotions, and, Cooper potentially pretty soon too. Like, maybe talk with it. Like, I have to empower other people to start to, continue to build stuff. And
that's a huge stepping stone.
It's hard. It's hard to know. It's hard to know how to do it. Some people don't want that responsibility either, right? Some people are just like, whoa, like I like to teach, come in, teach, do my thing and leave, right? Like I don't, what does that mean for me as an instructor? If I'm like, are they under me? Are they under Pure? Right. So we're trying to like keep that again, we have our finger on the pulse. We're a part of as many promotions pretty much. And blue belt has become like, we've pushed that out, but I don't think we've done any purple belt yet through anybody else. So we'll say, okay, if so-and-so is ready for purple belt, that's also why we started doing the promotion ceremonies. Yeah. Right. Because I was like, okay, well, at least like if somebody's ready, the instructors will be here, and then, they'll get it from their instructor, but also from us. Yeah. Right. And then that way we can do it that way. But if somebody's like way overdue for a blue belt, I'm not going to have them wait like 3 months or something. No.
The promotion ceremonies too. I remember, first competition I did was with Mikey and Paul DeLiso at, Gracie Nationals in LA. Then we went to Eddie Bravo's gym after. And it was 3 hours of belt promo. I don't remember. It was forever. Eddie Bravo wouldn't shut the fuck up. Yeah, well, but it was a belt promotion. We went to train, and there was no time to train. We're like, what the fuck? So it's like that was the first introduction to belt promotion. I was like, fuck this. I hope we never do this. But now it's like I don't know. Our culture is different. Did we drill? We usually train before the belt promotion, right? Or am I completely wrong?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we just roll.
Yeah.
No,
roll. Yeah. Roll and then promotion.
Yeah, I'll do like a handful of rounds and then just do
Yeah.
just belts, not stripes.
Yeah.
But even that, like, I'm like,
It's a lot.
There's so many, and yeah, like even stripes. Ashley and Mikey and I were literally just talking about the fact that we think we need to send out a like an RSVP thing to the belt promotion and have people, so we know, because right now we don't know who's going to show up.
Yeah,
right? We're like, belt
that's
promotion,
fair.
let's see who's there. Pull your card, and then we're like going through it. We're checking. We're like, okay, we generally know, but like you'd be surprised when you're looking out a sea of 50 people.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the worst, I don't want to say worst moments, because it ended up being like, anything that like you mess up usually ends up becoming just like a story later that is like whatever. But I think it was Phil's brown belt. He was in the thing we were doing, it was either seminar, promotion seminar, or something like that, and he didn't pull his card.
Yeah.
And obviously I knew he was ready.
Yeah.
Right? Like I knew he was ready. But when you're just looking at a million people,
Yeah.
you just like, so I can't, like, we're looking at the cards and we pulled all the belts and we're like, okay, da, 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 da. We went through everybody and we promoted everybody. And then like, as everybody's about to leave, I'm like, how the fuck did I miss Phil?
Yeah.
I'm like, so I'm like, Phil, I'm like, gather everybody back
remember
up
this.
together. And then I was like, wait, one more. And, at the time it's a little embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how did I forget Phil? He's one of our main guys. He's been with us forever. Like, he's obviously, but because he didn't pull the card, because it wasn't right in front of my face, and I was just like, and stuff like that gets missed, and it's like tough. So, we try to make it as personal as possible. We try to pay attention. Like when you're ready, we're getting close. We're like actually watching you roll. What could you be improving upon? And between me and Mikey, and then we talk to the other instructors, hey, watch so-and-so, because I do also see the time-based belts, and I don't want that to ever be a thing. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want, it's like, okay, so-and-so's been paying their bill for 2 years. Here's your blue belt, right? Like it's never going to, we're never going to go that way. But because we're never going to go that way, we need to make sure people understand, like, don't get frustrated because we didn't promote you yet. You know what I mean? It's like, it literally just might be like, the timing of managing this many people is not easy.
Fuck yeah.
But back to your question, because you had asked, with regards to like the difference of like the training
culture,
back at AMA versus how it is now. I don't know, like, what do you think? Like I feel like we could see it going in that direction in some respect. But it's the culture's just ebbed and flowed so many times. Like, we would train and we were there, like, we talked about like the height, right? Where like it was everybody and their brother coming in. It was just these amazing rounds. But there was months where it was me, him, and Billy D. Williams, and just the three of us, and nobody else would show up. And that was us training for fights, and we were on our own, like that. It just kind of goes like up and down.
I'm picturing that, and then the Camp PZ Wednesday class with 100 people on the mats. It's like completely different culture. 3 people, the 3 of you. So you guys are just for training for fights.
Yeah,
Sometimes it just be me and him.
Yeah,
which is nice because you guys can like really dig in and work on individual stuff, whatever you need. But like the diversity and whatnot, like if you're competing and the guy that you're facing is completely nothing like your training partner, and like you only have one person, how do you prepare with that level of with only 2 people?
You just push each other. Yeah. No, there were times where, I mean, basically, there were multiple of my fights, especially when I was fighting in Japan. It was almost entirely just Melvis. I would, at that time, it was funny, actually. So that was sort of towards the end of the AMA MMA team, like dominance, when we were there, and it was literally just me and Mel and Billy. The Millers had opened their gym, and I don't know if we had opened Pure yet, but we were close to it. But we started going up to the Millers. Like, we're like, oh, okay, they're, they got some people or whatever. And we would go up to, and they had a cage, and we would go up there. And who were we training with?
Just each other.
We
We drove all the way over here to spar with each other. We could have done this shit back home.
Yeah.
At least you had the cage. That's hilarious.
We did. We had the cage, but yeah, we would just go up there, and that was the other thing too. That was so weird. We were like, finally, somebody has a cage. Like, we were so jazzed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sad we don't have a cage at the gym right now.
Insurance.
Dude, the insurance. I know. That's a separate thing.
Well,
but
another podcast for that one.
yeah, but yeah, like, we were like, this is sick. Like, for cage rounds, finally, like, and we would go there, and nobody would want to do cage rounds. And it would just be the two of us. Like, they would just do them out in the open mat. Cage was sitting empty. And I'd be like, all right, Mel, you want to get a third cage round? You want to get a fourth cage round?
I completely forgot that we had the cage set up in the great room.
Yeah. Dude, that cage moved around.
That cage was in the red room.
Yeah.
Originally.
Yeah, it was. I
Before they
remember.
built
I
that
remember
wall.
it was at the first gym.
Fuck.
Then it was the wall that's there now, basically. Then it was at the far end in the gray room, set up in the full octagon.
Yeah.
It was even in the weightlifting part.
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved it in there.
There was a
Yeah.
ring
Then it was in the
too.
corner for a little bit, right? In the gray room.
Yeah.
Was
Well,
it just
in
like
at the
3
end.
walls
So
or
it
something?
was,
like that?
it was, what's that?
Was it just 2 walls at the end before you took it down? Or was it a full cage?
No, it was always a full
It was full cage, yeah.
Well, it was a wall only in the
red room, yeah.
Yeah, we moved it into there. We moved it, so we took over the gym, which is now Top Shelf.
Yeah.
And moved it into there. That was such a sick space because we had a little boxing ring. That was unfortunate that we couldn't keep it, but it was the same thing. Like, I took over somebody else's space there, and I wasn't on the lease. I had, long story short is I didn't have enough control of it. I trusted somebody who didn't work out, and then I had to take all the stuff out. But it was like we had the cage and the thing. It was such a cool little setup. But and then we moved that back in, and then it was on the far side, and then we moved it into the near side corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing moved around.
Yeah. Do you guys still have it? Did you get rid of it?
No, I sold it. Sold it to the 10th Planet Newton guys.
Oh, nice. At
Yeah,
least
yeah.
it's
I think they're just using it as a wall, though.
That's
But
whatever.
I don't know. But it was crazy, and I don't know if it changed back because AMA still has it, or if they're just like telling them that they don't have a cage or something. I don't know because the insurance for martial arts gyms is actually not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, but it's not that bad because I don't know. People probably just. You're basically for the most part everybody. So if somebody gets hurt, and
I got stitches on it. Well, it was glue. I'm not going through. I have insurance. Whatever.
Right, and also, it's very hard to go to an insurance company and say like, I didn't know I was gonna get hurt. It's like, well, you're doing a martial art, right? It happens. So the waivers are pretty good, but they literally 7x'd my insurance. They gave me it went from a few $1,000s to $30,000.
Wasn't that the whole thing
to
because
keep the cage?
Wasn't that whole thing because of there was a MMA gym that had rock climbing gear or something
Yes.
that someone fell on the rock climbing stuff?
There was something like that. Yeah, it was rock climbing. So, and there was other stuff too. So that happened, and then that lawsuit happened where that guy won, that broke his neck. Do you remember that? There was a guy, you definitely see in the video. So there was a guy, I think he was in California, who was rolling with the instructor. The instructor did that back take
yes.
where he flipped forward and his neck went the wrong way and he broke his neck. And then he ended up winning I don't know, 20, 30, $40 million, some insane amount of money. And so that happened. Somebody got hurt on a rock climbing thing. And then there was this weird thing during this period of time when everybody was hot on defund the police, and the police thing was really hot topic. You weren't allowed to have anything that was police focused. So we had to get rid of our police program. Not get rid of it, but we had to rename it. So we had a police class on Sundays, and I had to tell Joe, I was we literally have to take it down because they were we won't insure you if you have a police specific program because of some liability. we will charge you, 6-7x if you keep a cage. And then, and then everything else that, like they mentioned the rock climbing thing, which we don't have. I mean, we have the pegboard. So I took the pegs out of the board, but like, they're like, yeah, you can't have anything that people climb on. So I was like,
I was at, Travis Lauder's gym in, Fort Worth, Dallas when I was there last month, and they had the same pegboard across the whole thing. I'm like, gyms have this. What the fuck?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, so again, I think it's like timing. I think it's like what they. I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know. I went to like 3 or 4 different insurance companies, and they all just were like, no, or it's going to be X amount, like some crazy
Much
number.
of the defund the publicity, everything was liability at the time.
Yeah.
Probably calmed down.
It's funny. The best thing for the police that you can do, they wanted to say you couldn't do. That's fucking insane.
I think they just didn't want to be part of it.
Yeah, wash their hands clean of it.
Yeah, because there's something that happens with those cops that trained at your gym now. Now it falls on you guys. Whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Fucking crazy.
Before you finish up, I have a thing to bring up. Do you remember? This must have been like 6 years ago. I tagged you in a post. It was a Jim Miller. He was talking about you on a podcast saying that you submitted him or something. It was Andy Stump's podcast. Remember what I'm talking about?
Yes.
What was the situation? I don't remember the full story. So this was Andy Stump. He's got a podcast called Clear It Hot, and it was Jim Miller.
Yeah,
Dan. It was Jim Miller was on it, and he was talking about Andy. Did he say your name specifically? I don't remember if he said your name or not.
Yeah. Yes, I think he mentioned me. I don't remember. I think the joke, like what he said, something along the lines of like that he's only been subbed a handful of times, and he remembers every one of those times. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. He said something along the lines of like it was like one time or something, and then I made a joke to you.
I think I tagged you in it, and you're like, "This motherfucker's stirring the pot" or something.
Oh yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna get my ass kicked by Jim. No, I don't really remember exactly what it was.
I couldn't find the post. I gotta find the episode though. It was funny. So I think this is pre-COVID. But I was talking shit for Andy.
I was even trying to talk shit. Like I just he forwarded it to me. Of like Jim mentioning something about me, and then I think I just like made it like a joke back where I was like it was more than once or something like that, and then he just immediately goes and tags Jim and says Andy says it was more than once.
No, you did that
and
to
I was
him,
like,
bro. What the fuck?
I was like, what the hell?
Let's see.
Oh, you can't. Fuck. Did Jim ever say anything to you about that?
No, he doesn't care. No,
I gotta check my old phone. I think I have the messages.
Jim legitimately
it was funny. It was good.
Jim was legitimately one of the hardest people to submit, and I mean, he was just you see him now. Like, I mean, like his storied career and just like him continually just showing up and being a gangster.
Does he have the most amount of fights in the UFC?
Most amount of fights. I think he's got most amount of wins. He's near the top or at the top of fight bonuses.
And submissions, I think, too.
Submissions. Yeah, dude. He's like just one of the most remarkable people in MMA ever. And
one in a lifetime, I think, with him. Man.
For sure. Which is wild to think about. You guys like intimately have trained with them.
Yeah, no, Jim was a huge part of our
Did you ever come to Pure?
A handful of times. When we first started that competition training.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he came a handful of times.
I wasn't capable at the beginning. I was a blue belt then. And I don't think you guys opened up to high stripe blue belts at that time yet.
Yeah, I don't really remember. But yeah, no, but I mean, he literally popped in once or twice. Yeah. Nothing crazy. I mean, he had his own gym and was training up there. And that was his goal. Like here's to kind of like back to that the conversation we were having about these gyms that were just like you had to like literally fight your way to the top. Mm-hmm. Jim is a perfect example of the longevity when you don't do that. Now, Jim sparred pretty hard back when we were sparring, so there was a period of time that he was doing that, but he wasn't doing that for his entire career, because in the beginning he was a lot better than most of the guys that he was training with. And then I know you're like
we're good.
We're good. No, I'm checking that to make sure that like everything is still going and recording.
Yeah, we're good.
I have a OCD with that.
We've had some technical difficulties before. So
yes.
go on.
So we're just making sure.
Yeah. So And then, you know, like the kind of the height of AMA, there was tough matchups, the Jamie Varners, obviously, like, you know, I'd like to think that it gave him some tough rounds, like the two of us and Charlie's and everything else. And that was probably like the height of like the tough, like, break you down type rounds that he had. After he opened his gym, he was very selective with who he went with, and he didn't spar as much. And part of it was because of the Lyme's disease, right? Yeah. So he had Lyme's disease, which kind of kept him out. Which, yes, he had like a period of time there which he was struggling to train and struggling to fight, but he also wasn't taking all the damage that most of us and most of the people that were in his, you know, his peers, so to speak, at the time were taking, right? So, then he just continued to train that way. And I'll, you know, just be honest, like a lot of us were like, Jim's going to fall off. He's not training. Like he's not doing the things that we thought you needed to do at the time, right? Like he's taking long periods of time off in between, like not sparring in between and then, you know, when Max Holloway talked about, I don't know if you remember when Max Holloway came out and was just like, I don't really spar anymore. He's like, I spar like light rounds, and he's like, I don't need to. I just need to get sharp before a fight. But he's like, my skill set is there. So my belief, and again, you know, maybe get Jim on the podcast one day. He'll talk about it. But my belief is that the combination of those things, of the Lyme's disease forcing him out of a lot of training, and the shifting into his own thing and being selective with partners and not doing hard sparring, is the reason that he's, you know, what is he, 40 now? 41 years old now. And looks great. You know, he's still out there. He's still doing it, and he could probably fight for another 5 years if he wants to. Like, I don't know,
which
like
is wild to say. In his mid 40s, he's gonna retire.
So, you know, I don't know, but it's and continuing to do well. You know, like I don't know. I just, it was funny because they posted one of those things who they want to see Gaethje up against next. And, you know, they listed the guys at the top, and I was like, Jim fucking Miller. I was like, God, just come on. They're both, you know, Gaethje's late 30s, early 40s. Like, come on. Like, just let them be.
That would be pretty fucking epic.
That'd be perfect.
Dude,
that should have been.
I would love to see that. I would love to see Jim against, like, even Connor if he comes back. Like,
that could be a good one, too.
You know. Jim's the fighter's fighter, man. Yeah. Like all the things that everybody like kind of like talks about with Gaethje. Obviously, Gaethje like has been at the top, is at the top. You know, Jim's basically the same, right? Like the toughest guys from every, you know, the multiple eras now that he's been fighting in. You know, some wins, some losses, but just like, you know, his career is incredible, and he's got so many records, right? It's like, even if you're like, sure, there's a handful of people or a bunch of people, whatever, that are in front of him in line in theory, I'm like, if I'm Dana White, I'm just like,
you got to give him at least a look.
Like,
are you considered?
Yeah.
Do you want to consider this at all, Jim? Like Jim, do you want to entertain this? Like, give him the option to say yes or no to throw his hat in the ring.
He'd do it in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an entertain. It's just like, I like, give him some big fight. Like, I would love to see just like a couple of big name fights offered to him. Like, I shouldn't even say he's always fighting bigger name guys, but like, you know, like a Connor or like, you know, one of these.
That's big payday fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he deserves it. He should be in the Hall of Fame. You know, he literally deserves everything. He stands like yes, the champions are the champions, but like Jim literally stands alone in his like, I personally believe there will be 0 people. I don't think it's possible that anybody will ever catch him in the maybe 1 or 2 records, but the sweep of records that he has, the longevity that he's had, and like at the level that he's been fighting and the people he's fought, I truly believe he'll stand alone for all of MMA history in that regard. I really do.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome. Before we wrap up, I want to say, if there is any stories that you guys have from your training that might be funny or crazy, we'll end on that. Like, if you have any funny ones. I remember one time you were saying there was someone who threw up outside of the Pancake House, and the owner came in or something like that, or along those lines in AMA. Do you have any like funny thing or crazy story that you saw get out of hand? And we'll,
man, we talked about a lot of different things. I mean, the AMA stories, there's probably a bunch there. You have any off the top of your head?
I'm horrible at this.
what's funny? You know what's funny?
I was just
You know what's
sitting
funny,
on Andy
though?
rip.
No, but you know,
Horrible at this.
but you're not really horrible at this because on a couple episodes ago, 20 episodes ago, you were.
Yeah, I
you
think
were
I was
saying
better that time.
Yeah, but it's not even about being better or not. It's actually cool to have both of you in there, right? Because you're reliving everything what Andy's saying. And it's cool to see that you're still here, right? His head instructor at of Muay Thai. So it's fucking awesome to see that you guys still have that bond.
Yeah. And he's the one still sparring, man.
Yeah.
I hate it. I like every time I try to, I say, like I said, generally speaking, I'm not too bad, but I got like neck and back thing that like just are debilitating when it affects me. And unfortunately, sparring's like one of the things that like just it'll set me off for 2 weeks. I'm always like, all right, feeling good, rolling, gonna start sparring, but man, Mel has not stopped this entire time. But I mean, there's a lot of good stories. We had Charlie Brenneman throw Yusuf, the guy that owns One United over in Bhutan. He threw him into a wall and then yelled at him for hitting the wall in the bag. That was hilarious. We've had a bunch of people throw up outside, but one of the guys at AMA, for some reason, used to always run out front to throw up, even though there was a slop sink in the back and a toilet. And every single time,
If it wasn't on the mat, because sometimes he'd throw up on the mat.
yeah,
Fucking A.
and he would so every time Constantino would be like, please go to the back, and every single time he'd run out front. And the way that it was set up was like, so the AMA had like the wall here, and then there was like a jut out, so the window into the pancake house was right in front of this garbage can, which was right in front of AMA or whatever. And so he would run out, and literally there'd be like a family eating breakfast, and then he'd be like, shirtless, sweating, and puking on the sidewalk. It was nuts. We had Rico Rodriguez, who he was a former UFC heavyweight champion, come in, and he was just out of his mind, and like. He tried to nickname me Skeletor. He was just like, "You're just a skinny white dude." He's like, and then he would, literally just ran a rampage. But because he was a UFC champion, Mike Constantino let him just run wild, and was and he came from that you just fight mentality, and he would just we went pretty hard that week. He just made us literally try to kill each other and just berate us constantly. Trying to think. I mean, we had so many. We had he talked about the dude Adlon, who literally broke a bunch of people's ribs. He would just come in and spinning back kick, full power, side kicks, breaking ribs.
Fuck that.
Yeah. And funny thing, actually, I just remembered, and this wasn't at AMA, but the only time I think ever gone out cold was we went head to head once. And
that was when we had the top shelf part.
Yeah.
I told my wife I wasn't sparring, and next thing you know, me and him are sparring, and I think I went for a takedown, or I think he thought I was going for throwing an overhand. And I went for a takedown, so he lowered himself, and I lowered myself, and I went straight. And all of a sudden, I'm like, yo, what the fuck just hit me? And my head is cracked. And I'm holding my head. And I look down, and Andy's on the ground. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I thought he hit me. I didn't even realize that we clashed heads.
Yeah, we went head to head.
This was at the top shelf in the ring?
We had the
cage.
The cage.
Yeah.
So this
we're
was
sparring.
This was not long ago.
I woke up like, what is that? And, yeah, no, I mean, it was that long ago. How long ago do you think that was?
7 years ago, 6 years ago?
Oh, okay, I mean, yeah, 7 years. That's kind of a long time.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yes, it's a long time ago, but also in the scheme of things, you guys been training for 20 plus years.
Right.
That wasn't that. It kind of was. But
no, I stopped sparring for the most part probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I tried to spar pretty much as I could until I couldn't train. That was the thing. Until sparring made me unable to do the other training. I would. That's pretty much when I stopped. So I'm still hoping to jump back into sparring.
Is there a way you can pick and choose and have specific sparring partners that like adjust the sparring to like a more I don't know in Muay Thai, but like flow rolling jiu-jitsu kind of thing. Is that possible?
Yeah, but
Or is that just not fun?
it's not fun. Yeah,
That's why flow rolling doesn't end at flow rolling.
And again, like it's if I spar 5 rounds, I'll probably be fine. But it's not a hard shot. It's not that it's not the hard shots.
Yeah.
It's just the little shots that I didn't see, right? Like, so if I'm leaning and, Mel clips me with a little one that just does, gives me that quick twitch.
A little whiplash.
I get that.
Yeah.
It flares up. I'm shot. But, and again, I could probably be doing more like neck exercise. I got to just get on it and do that kind of stuff. And hopefully, because also we got the guys that are pro now, and
a lot of guys coming up now.
Yeah. So I want to be able to give them rounds and things like that. So we'll see. If not, I got Mel.
Mel will always be there banging.
Yeah,
And,
always to the end of time, man.
yeah.
You're like the Jim Miller of Pure MMA, dude. You're gonna be there for the end.
Listen,
of time.
Mel, I sing this dude's praises all the time. I know he's super humble. He doesn't talk shit that much. Maybe occasionally, but he doesn't. He just does his thing. I mean, I'll end it with this because one is like obviously was an amateur champion, and then even like the couple pro fights. Like, the record doesn't do it justice because, like, one was just, like, a quick cut. It's, like, weird stuff, right? Like, it was, like, that, I remember in the room, like, Mel was always one of the toughest rounds for everybody. It didn't matter who came in, right? So, like, all these guys that we're talking about, like, they'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? It was sort of like, it's funny because Mikey was that guy for jiu-jitsu, where, like, people would come train. And at that time, more people knew my name than knew Mikey's name just because I was fighting professionally, UFC, whatever, right? And then they'd come roll or to train with me and whatever. And then they'd roll with Mikey and get their asses handed to them in jiu-jitsu, like effortlessly, right? They'd be like, well, what the fuck is this? Your brother? Nobody told me your brother. And Mikey's literally like one of the toughest grapplers on the planet. Mm-hmm. And always has been, guys who are top 5 come in and just be like, I tell this story because it's funny. Another guy I used to train one-on-one with a lot was Gary Tonin. And sometimes I would go there a lot. He came up to our gym once, and the first time he rolled with Mikey. Now, this is before his height, obviously, but even still, like everybody, he came in, he rolls with Mikey, and Mikey subs him like 5 times in 5 minutes. And now I was 1-for-1 at that time with Gary. Like, if I catch him, he'd catch me. We'd be back and forth. We had wars. He walks up to me. He was just like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, what? He was like, your brother just choked me out 5 times in that round. And I was like, yeah, he's fucking good. I was like, he's like, right. So like the same shit would happen with Mel, where like, everybody knew the Jim Miller, the Charlie Brennan and whatever, and the guys that had the names in the gym, but the guys that they didn't know as well. Like at one point, I had some popularity, but I wasn't as well known either. But like they'd come in and just be like, I just got the shit kicked out of me. I got my liver fucked up by who is this guy, and I'd be like, yeah, welcome to sparring with Mel. Like I get nervous even when we were training all the way up to when we were at the gym. I'd be like, like I get nervous knowing I got to go spar with Mel, like literally all the time. But at the same time, nobody's been more dedicated to like, Pure. When we started, I was like, opening the gym, this and that. I'll come teach. I'm like, I can't afford to. He's like, I don't care. I'll come help. Whatever you got to do. And everything that the gym is now is as much a part of Mel's influence as everybody else. That's played a big part in Pure. So, gotta throw some flowers out there.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Love it. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate everything that Pure has done for me and my family. Like, there was a point in my life I went through some hard times, and, you guys were always there for me. So, you, Ashley, Mikey. So I would always appreciate that. And,
absolutely,
love to you guys.
Yeah, man.
It's that culture.
Fuck yeah, man.
That's it.
Hell
That's
yeah.
it.
That was a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you. No,
yeah.
seriously. So it was great to hear the stories behind, behind the scenes and to see this brotherhood right here and to hear some of the stories. So appreciate that. Always a fun time. Guys, a lot of good stuff there, especially if you're training, especially if you're thinking about maybe open up your gym, right? That's like a wealth of knowledge right there. So stay loyal, guys. Just remember, stay loyal, but loyal for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. Episode 234. Andy, Mel, thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.